I had a little too much free time on my hands, so I figured I'd do a really quick review of my Ontario Knife Company Marine Raiders Beck Plus 10 or whatever the heck it is. uh, Marine Raider Bowie knife. I've had this puppy now for about a year. I bought it for one purpose, and that was to split logs, basically. There it is there. And its sheath. I'll pop it out. Just a note on the sheath. Found it took a while to break in this top snap right here. Sometimes you'd have to give it quite a tug before it would come over. That's helpful. I don't know if you can see it there, but yeah, this knife gets used. And I don't know if it's visible on the end, but you can see some of the powder coat protection is starting to come off. And no wonder I've wailed on this knife with every ounce of my strength, and it has not broken or chipped. There's a little tiny bit of rust tarnish up at the end there. You can kind of see it. A couple of things I worried about. I worried about the it's a 1/4 inch thickness, which is with a 1095 steel pretty much unbreakable. However, at the tip, it's tapered. This clip point is tapered, and I worried about the strength of that. That hasn't been an issue. But the other thing I worried about was that it gave me limited batoning space. So really, I thought, I'm only going to be able to baton on this part. Not the case. You can whale on this part too. The only thing is you will eventually cut through your baton. As a chopper and for clearing branches, the edge that comes on this from the factory is garbage. Is the only way to put it. Oh, is that a nick? Yeah. There should be nicks for the work that this knife has done. There should be. The edge is garbage. You can kind of clean branches, but with a lot of branches, it's really just the weight of a basically 2-pound knife breaking twigs off. You might as well use the other end and just smack, smack, smack. The handle is really tough. It's good at absorbing shock. The lanyard's great. The guard here is rock solid. I've had a huge log taped up with duct tape, and this thing stuck in a piece of maple. And I was wailing on it, and my friend was wailing on it too. And I don't weigh much. I'm not a big guy, but he's not small. He gave it everything he had. We've hit it here and all along, just pounding into the worst wood you could possibly imagine for splitting. If we were smarter, we probably would have just done, smaller pieces and cut into it, which is what I ended up doing last time. But it doesn't matter. It'll go through. If you can muster the energy to hit it, it'll go through. With a 1/4 inch thickness, it's perfect for splitting. Now, like I say, the edge on this is pretty much garbage. I haven't sharpened it, though. And a couple reasons for that. One, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in the people I know around here who sharpen knives, because I have this Canadian Groman survival knife. This thing was beat up. Now, mind you, they did restore this. This was so tarnished. This basically came back looking like a brand new knife. They put a mirror finish back on it. with an acid bath. And when I got it back, it was sharp enough to shave with. I don't know if you can notice it or not. They, you can kind of see that. The grind is irregular. They redid the grind. It's not so bad on this point. Now, mind you, this is kind of a tricky knife to do because it kind of comes in and then has a bellies out and then comes up to the top. So it is tricky, but I gave them this one to kind of test their skills because I got this one for free, which is awesome because this is a high quality knife and made locally. But this one I paid money for, and it kind of has the same sort of deal with the curvature of the blade. It starts in, and then it bellies out, and then it comes to the clip point. So I figured if he struggled with that one, he might struggle with this. So that's one reason. Confidence in your knife sharpeners. I'm not confident enough to do it myself, although I have literally all the gear. The other problem with putting an edge on this, with redoing the edge, this is 1095 steel. It will rust. And the problem with rust is that it's like a cancer. So once you get rust on there, it's not like oxidizing aluminum. Once aluminum oxidizes, it creates the aluminum oxide is an impermeable membrane, impermeable barrier, so that oxygen can't get in. But with rust, it's porous. So once it starts, unless you remove the rust, it's just going to keep going. So I wanted to expose as little of the steel as possible and keep as much of this coating on. Mind you, it's sort of a waste because this thing would be an awesome chopper. I mean, it's basically a machete with the thing. It's basically a super stout machete with with a clip point. Yeah, it's about 10 inches, the blade itself. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. If you plan on doing chopping with this knife, I highly recommend that you get it sharpened. If you plan on using it for cleaning or for doing any kind of carving, um, if you plan on skinning with it, I mean, forget about it. Oh yeah, the other reason I decided not to sharpen it is when you're using it as a splitter, I don't really want it that sharp. The reason being that when you start pounding this thing in there, the last thing you want is for it to start cutting across the grain, which is far more difficult. What you want it to do is kind of find the grain and pop it apart, and wedge it apart and just kind of pull it out. So I want the wood to split along the grain rather than cutting through it. The downside is if you get really knotted wood where that's not going to happen, there are certain kinds of knots that you can get depending on what you're cutting, that the only way to get through it is to literally cut through it, then yeah, it would be better if it was sharpened. But part of that's just knowing what wood to select when you're doing your chopping or splitting. And obviously, by yeah, like along that edge there, probably hard to see. So yeah, it's flat, it's flat, it's flat, and then it makes it as it makes the final approach to the. I can't remember what it's called. I used to know my knife terminology. But as you make that final grind there, which I don't even think that's the right term, then it retains more thickness, so it's less likely to develop really big chips. It might nick, but it's not going into the larger thickness of the material. So I'm not going to have any catastrophic failures with it. It's just going to be kind of crappy for chopping. Like I say, it's a personal preference. Maybe if I knew someone around here who would restore protective coating on it, I'd be more, and somebody who could have more confidence in actually doing the sharpening, and I might consider getting it done. But as it stands right now, I think I'm just gonna keep it like that. Clearing brush and stuff like that is more summer work, and I probably want a machete for that sort of thing. And you don't need to be splitting. You need to be splitting big wood in really wet or really in winter conditions when there's a lot of snowfall, because it's the only way you get to dry wood. Um, but a machete in the summertime, that's fine. Clear branch, chop dead branches off. Whoopie dang. So yeah, just some considerations for those who are looking for a good, solid work knife for doing camp work. Yeah, I can just imagine me trying to whittle something with this. Not really for that. Like I said, I bought it for one reason: splitting wood, and it is phenomenal at that. And the knife is pretty much indestructible out of the box. I bent the tip a tiny bit. That's the only serious wear this thing has shown. So, good job, Ontario. I think I might buy your machete. Cheers, YouTubers.